The Phoenix Suns are on the verge of finishing off a pesky Dallas Mavericks squad with the series heading back to the Lone Star State for Game 6. Now they're ready for the Game 7, will they win the Mavs? Here are the reasons how the Phoenix Suns can beat the Dallas Mavericks. But before we proceed, let us make some shout out to Mario Lunar, thank you for the support. I do random shout out from my subscribers. If you want to get mentioned on my next video, subscribe now. How the Phoenix Suns are going back in time to beat Dallas Mavericks. The Phoenix Suns are on the verge of finishing off a pesky Dallas Mavericks squad with the series heading back to the Lone Star State for Game 6. The Suns last beat the Mavericks in the playoffs in 2005, when league MVP Steve Nash led the Suns past Dallas and his close friend Dirk Nowitzki in 6 games. Then Dallas coach Avery Johnson turned the pass-first Nash into a scorer that series. Johnson's strategy produced mixed results. Nash scored 48 points in Game 4, but Dallas won the game, but it created a template for the Suns to follow 17 years later, make the other team's best player scored all the points while taking all the others out of the game entirely. Today's Suns must rely on the no others strategy to finish off Dallas. They must expect their defense will be the deciding factor in this series. Their offense has not traveled to Dallas yet in this series, only averaging 97.5 points per game when the series moves away from the footprint center. That would be the NBA's worst scoring team this season by a long shot. The 2005 Suns averaged 117.5 points per game against Dallas in that series. That's a 20-point difference. Perhaps inspired by Knight's book, the Suns thought very negatively in Game 5. But what exactly did the Suns do to make Dallas lose? The Phoenix Suns forced Dallas to take 2s instead of 3s in Game 5. 3 points are worth more than 2. It is why Dallas takes so many of them, as do most other NBA teams. The Suns are the exception to the rule, tied for 28th in total 3-point attempts per game. Basic math says it makes more sense to take 3-pointers if you can make at least a third of them. The more 3-pointers Dallas takes off the catch, the more likely the Suns will lose. Overall 3-point attempts for Dallas are the most important statistic to monitor in Game 6. Volume, not efficiency, is ultimately what matters to Dallas. The worst-case scenario for the Suns is that Dallas takes over 40 triples and outscores them if they even get hot from deep. That is what happened in Game 4. The Suns finally made the right adjustment in Game 5, run Dallas off the 3-point line. Dallas was a ghastly 8-32 from 3-point range in the blowout loss. By comparison, they shot at least 39 3-pointers in the first 4 games of the series. How Dallas is getting their 3-pointers matters as well. In this series, Dallas has shot 41.7% from 3-point range in catch-and-shoot situations. That number plummets to 30.8% if they are forced to take a 3-pointer off the dribble. Game 7 predictions. Running Dallas off the 3-point line means preventing these catch-and-shoot opportunities from happening. Overhelping driving lanes is the biggest factor in creating these shots off the catch. The Suns should therefore deny all the passing lanes to shooters instead of cutting off the driving lanes available. Help defense is not going to be helpful against Dallas either. The Mavs only scored 80 points in Game 5. Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson combined for 49 of those 80 points. This trend needs to continue for the Suns. The key is to deny all passing lanes to the perimeter. Dallas runs a 5-out offense so Doncic and Brunson will get a handful of layups off the dribble. Brunson can get 20 as long as he takes at least 15 shots to get there. All the Suns need to do in Game 6 is to make Dallas lose the game. And that all starts on defense. Defensive game planning. Phoenix has the luxury of options, more so than almost anyone in the league. Up until Game 3, it seemed nearly impossible for the Mavs to take any of them away, especially in the fourth quarter. In Games 1 and 2, they were throwing Luka Doncic and their big men into the fire. Allowing switch after switch, they either compromised the defense by dragging out the Mavs' best rim protectors or took advantage of Doncic's slower feet in isolation. Mavs coach Jason Kidd even made it a point to hold Doncic accountable for his defensive effort in the Game 2 post-game presser. In response, Games 3 and 4 saw the Mavs essentially blitz every Chris Paul or Devin Booker pick and roll. They hedged screens, doubled at the point of attack, and had defenders fight over screens to ensure none of the same easy looks came for the Suns. They wanted to show length at every opportunity and subsequently take away lanes into the mid-range by placing bodies directly around every corner. If the Mavs can negate the pick and roll by sending extra help, then you essentially take Ayton out of the series because, for one reason or another, the Suns are fixated on using him as if he's JaVale McGee with a jump shot, instead of allowing him to make the game easier for his perimeter threats. Phoenix Suns 3 keys to Game 5 bounce-back victory versus Dallas Mavericks. What the Phoenix Suns thought to be a punching bag in the Dallas Mavericks turned out to be a real sparring partner this past weekend. After taking it to Luka Doncic and company during the Western Conference semifinals' first 2 contests, winning by a combined 27 points, this second-round series had all the makings of a one-sided beatdown. That made it all too easy for Suns fans to prematurely break out their brooms and begin quietly uttering the word "sweep" around town. But those "Suns in 4" chants that rained down across the Footprint Center last week were not echoed back in Dallas, and nor was Phoenix's near-flawless play from Games 1 and 2, as mistakes came by the many at both ends of the floor. The Suns lost Game 3 to the Mavericks by a 103-94 final score, with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton all failing to score more than 20 points. At the same time, Dallas unleashed a barrage of three-pointers, drowning out the Suns from deep with 20 made triples, tied for the most ever surrendered by a Phoenix team in a playoff contest. When the dust settled, the scoreboard reflected a 111-101 victory for the Mavericks, and more importantly, a tied-up series at 2 games apiece. Naturally, the Suns preferred how this series' first 2 games went rather than the last 2. In flipping that switch, they need to check these 3 boxes. Controlling the fouls. Anytime a star player on your team gets disqualified with several minutes still to play, it's something to fix. Even after Sunday's game, Chris Paul has still scored more in the fourth quarter than any other player this postseason. The point guard averages 8.7 points per final frame, and the Suns only lost by 10 points on Sunday. With him on board, you have to assume Phoenix would have put up a better fight in Game 4, and possibly even won. However, Paul was not alone. During that same contest, JaVale McGee, Devin Booker, Jay Crowder, and Michael Bridges all picked up 4 fouls. Things grew especially tough for Bridges and Crowder, who both picked up foul number 4 before the final period. Circumstances like that make it difficult for any player to operate freely on the court, especially guys like Crowder and Bridges who also play a physical brand of defense. Although most fans disliked the officiating in Game 4, which put this burden on Phoenix, to begin with, the Suns cannot control the whistle. They can control themselves though, and need to do so more adequately in Game 5. As long as they relax and play cleaner ball, things should go smoothly.